So the United States Football League is coming back in 2022. They just completed their draft of 2 days, compiling of 35 rounds to fill out a majority of the roster for their 8 teams coming back into the league and play, which starts on April 16th. I want to get into some of the details about the league and also how it pertains to Miami because there was a former Hurricane drafted. But first, hit the like button if you like this video. If you are excited about the USFL coming back, does this interest you at all? And also, I'm very curious what you think of the uniforms of these teams. Okay, so first off, a few details about the league. They will play a 10-game schedule with all of the regular season games being played in Birmingham, Alabama, with the playoffs moving to Canton, Ohio, in the championship game on July 3rd. It's an additional football league to the NFL schedule, and it doesn't happen during the same season. So I think that helps the league, but certainly we've seen other leagues in recent years try to come back, try to do something else, and they fall flat on its face. I will be very curious to see if the USFL can have some momentum in the offseason, unlike these other leagues. And I think one of the big factors is its financial support. So it's been reported that Fox Sports is committed to putting in anywhere from $150 to $200 million into the operations for the first 3 years. There's also a lot of investment money in there as well. And to kind of break down a little bit about some of the salaries that have been reported, what players will earn, in this league, because that will be very important. And obviously, the checks have to keep coming in. Once they stop, the league can certainly fold at any minute. But I am encouraged by some of the things I've heard so far, and I personally am excited about this new league. Okay, so players' contracts, according to reports, they're going to get $600 per week during training camp, $1,500 per week for the practice squad. Active roster gets $4,500 per week plus victory bonuses. All in all, the 10-week schedule for a practice squad member, $15,000, in the active roster, $45,000, which is certainly not one of those NFL salaries that you're used to hearing, but still it's a positive earning for some of these players as they look to either vault their career or have some stability. And that goes right into Miami Hurricanes former wide receiver Jeff Thomas, who was the only Hurricane drafted in this 35-round draft. I will mention that the league will also have a supplemental draft to fill out their roster next month, and also they're able to sign some more players as well. Jeff Thomas, you guys remember him, a former All-American Under Armour guy. I remember speaking to him at the event in Orlando, sitting at the round table during the media day, talking with him about being a Hurricane and his recruitment and things like that. So he was a guy a lot of you are excited about at Miami, and he did well at times. However, he dealt with off-the-field issues. He wasn't reliable as a player, and he actually left the team after his second season, according to a report that he had an argument with the wide receivers coach, Ron Dugans. Coaching change happens at the head coach. Manny Diaz, moves up from defensive coordinator to head coach, and he decides to bring Jeff back on the team. It did not work out as planned. He dealt with some more off-the-field stuff. He leaves the team after the year, doesn't put up the numbers that he was doing early on in his career. And I do want to mention that this was a guy that was very exciting as a player. That first year, he averaged 22 yards on 13 catches, really showed a lot of promise, a lot of flashes there in 2017 and 2018, and he increases his productivity as a total with 35 catches, 563 yards and 3 touchdowns, 16.1 yards per catch. Once again, showing flashes, and you're hoping from year 2, he comes back to the team. You're hoping for one of those big years in year 3, and it just didn't happen. He ended up only getting 379 yards that final season. He goes undrafted, leaves after his third year, goes undrafted, ends up with the New England Patriots as an undrafted free agent in 2020. It was very interesting how things went there. He was popular. A lot of people are certainly intrigued by him. He showed flashes, but he did not practice very much in the preseason. The preseason games were canceled that year, and he ends up getting cut early in September. And that was about all that happened with his NFL career. Now, in 2022, he seems to be really excited about this opportunity based on some of the things he's posted on social media. He seems very excited about the opportunity to continue his career. And one of these things that stands out to me that's interesting about him in terms of his abilities, a guy that can get downfield, very fast, electric player, put up big numbers in high school, and once again, did well at times at Miami, averaged about 16 yards a catch, 8 touchdowns in his 3 seasons, 83 catches. So Good at times, a lot of ability. I think there's more still to be out there with Jeff. And if he's got the right mindset, I think he can provide some electric plays still moving forward in his career. The thing that stands out to me is this is a guy that's only 23 years old. We've heard stories like this before with other wide receivers, other players that go through tough times early in their careers or tough times in college, and they get past it and they move forward. So I'll be very curious to see how Jeff does moving forward. I think a lot of you might be disappointed in how things went at Miami, but sometimes things just don't go as planned or don't go as well as you hope, either as a player, as a fan, as a coach. I want to make mention of where Jeff was drafted because he was taken in the 13th round, but because of how the draft was set up, the teams had to take certain positions at certain rounds of the draft. The wide receivers were not allowed to be picked until the 13th round. And so Jeff Thomas was actually one of the top wide receivers picked. He was the 4th overall wide receiver picked by the Pittsburgh Maulers in the draft. And he's going to play for head coach Kirby Wilson, a guy that's been in the NFL quite a few years. And he's a guy that, was with the Pittsburgh Steelers staff. And this will be his first head coaching job. The Pittsburgh Maulers, like the other 7 teams currently in the league today, were the same teams that were in the USFL at times in the 80s. And I think that's great for nostalgia purposes to have that brand recognition in these markets. And I want to list the other 7 teams as well as the Pittsburgh Maulers, who are playing in the North Division along with the Michigan Panthers, the New Jersey Generals, and the Philadelphia Stars. And in the South, it's the Birmingham Stallions, the Houston Gamblers, and I've got a good story about them later, and the New Orleans Breakers and the Tampa Bay Bandits in the South. So there's a lot of team recognition with those markets. Like I said, definitely let me know what you think of these teams. Do you like their jerseys? Is there anyone that stands out to you as the best uniform or the best logo or anything like that? Drop in the comments below. As far as where Jeff Thomas is going, I do like the color scheme of the Pittsburgh Maulers with that purple and orange set up there. I think it looks great. I think it's going to be very unique to the league to have these teams in it. And one of the things that stands out to me too about this league is the amount of name recognition with the head coaches. I want to list these guys, and I think you're going to recognize a lot of these names that from either college level or the NFL, because they're names that you guys will definitely recognize, starting with Jeff Fisher, Mike Riley, Bart Andrus, Kirby Wilson, who I mentioned earlier, who's going to be Jeff's coach, Skip Holtz, Kevin Sumlin, Larry Fedora, and Todd Haley. So a lot of expertise there. I think that's going to be great in terms of with the league, in terms of marketing, as it being, this legitimate league that it wants to be. The big key, I think, moving forward will be about gaining quality players. And just looking at the draft with these 35 rounds of the players that have already been picked, some names that stand out to me. The first overall pick was Shea Patterson, who was just a quarterback at Michigan. I think that's great that he's stepping into the Panthers of Michigan to be their quarterback. Again, that brand recognition is certainly big in this league. Other names that stand out to me, a couple guys that you remember during the recruiting process with Miami, Reggie Northrup and Will Likely, a guy that certainly stood out, a South Florida product. And then other guys that stood out to me too, Paxton Lynch, a quarterback, and then Alex Magoo, the former quarterback at FIU, played in the NFL. So those are some names that stand out to me from the draft, but there's a bunch of names that'll stand out to you as well. So quickly, in doing some research about the USFL in the 80s, I was very curious about the amount of Miami players and the Miami involvement with the USFL. And the big one that stands out is former quarterback Jim Kelly, who went on to have a Hall of Fame career with the Buffalo Bills, but it did not start out with the Bills. And it's a very interesting story. So he gets drafted by the Bills in 1983 with the 14th overall pick. It's very interesting because he said before the draft that he was not interested in playing for 3 teams because of weather: the Packers, the Vikings, and the Bills. This is a guy that played his college ball at Miami, did not want to play in the league, in the NFL, based on some of these teams and where they're located. He had no interest in playing in the cold. And he stuck with that. The Bills took him in the 14th pick. He actually was excited at times because 2 picks before that, the Bills passed on him with the 12th pick. He gets picked at 14, even though they passed on him the first time around. He sticks to what he was saying. He does not sign with the Bills initially. He goes to play in the USFL in 84 and 85 with the Houston Gamblers. He was set to play again in 86, but the league folded. He eventually signed with the Bills, goes on to have that Hall of Fame career, the 4 straight Super Bowl appearances, certainly a big career, but it did not start out on a high note with him and the Bills. Going back to his USFL days, he was the league MVP in 84, and he still holds the passing touchdown records for the league. He had 2 big seasons there. Other big names that played in the USFL in the 80s, Herschel Walker, Steve Young, Reggie White, Gary Zimmerman, and then Sam Mills. Those are some big names that went on to play in the NFL and had great careers, great Hall of Fame careers. So a lot of nostalgia with the United States Football League. Maybe some of you are old enough to remember what that league was like. I would like to hear your stories. What do you remember about those games? What was that league like? How exciting were you about that league? And if anybody did not go to those games and doesn't remember anything about the 80s league, are you excited about this one? Again, I am. I'm excited. I'd like to see more Miami guys in it, but I think that could still happen. And I'm very interested to see how Jeff Thomas does with this new opportunity with his career. Can he take advantage of the opportunity in Pittsburgh with the Maulers? And one of the things that's going to be key is who is his quarterback going to be? The Maulers took 2 quarterbacks in the draft. The guy that they took first was Kyle Laletta, a guy that was a 4th-round pick by the New York Giants just a few years ago in 2018. He's been basically on the practice squad at different organizations. He ended the 2021 season on the Browns practice squad, and now he's going to get this opportunity in the USFL, which once again begins on April 16th. A lot is going on that day, I understand, with Miami spring game, but definitely stay tuned to the league. If I find out any more information, if there's any more going on with the league in terms of a Miami standpoint, I'll certainly pass that on. And certainly definitely want to thank everybody for watching this video. Hit the like button if you haven't done so yet, and stay tuned to the channel. Thanks again for watching, and take care.